Why does my Greyhound pant so much? It can be disturbing to see your Greyhound panting. If they seem to you to pant harder than other dogs, it's not your imagination. Today on the Greyhound Home Care channel, find out how dogs pant to cool themselves. Greyhounds with their deep chests pant harder than other dogs, which cools them very efficiently. Don't panic when your Greyhound pants. Instead, prevent situations in which he'll struggle to cool himself, which could lead to heat stress. It's essential to learn when a panting Greyhound needs your help. Keep watching, and you'll gain enough insight into your Greyhound to know the difference between panting as a symptom, panting as a means of chilling out, and panting as, well, drama. How panting helps your Greyhound. The Greyhound's respiratory system is designed to move lots of oxygen through his body at a steady rate. This oxygen refreshes the blood and all of his vital organs. The blood's pumped through his body efficiently, even under the stress of running 40 miles an hour. Surprisingly, the Greyhound's cardiorespiratory system is even more efficient when sprinting. This is the opposite of humans. What your Greyhound needs to cool off. For your Greyhound's panting to do its job, he needs 4 things. Air that's cooler than his body temperature, air that's dry enough for evaporation to happen, plenty of saliva, and his airway needs to be wide open. So, simply put, you need to make sure to keep him hydrated and able to breathe easily. Let's see how you can do that. Always monitor air temperature and circulation by your Greyhound. A dog's normal body temperature is roughly 100 to 102.5 degrees Fahrenheit. But watch your Greyhound's comfort level even when the air is in the 70s, especially if it's humid, which we'll get to in a moment. Enclosed spaces can reach hot temperatures rapidly, even if the outdoor air is nowhere near 100 degrees. Every year, dozens of children and an untold number of pets die in hot cars, all completely unintentional, needless, and preventable. A dog left in a car on an 80-degree day is in trouble in less than 10 minutes. Greyhounds are especially susceptible to heat stroke compared to other breeds, but cars are not the only culprit. Any poorly ventilated space is a danger in hot weather. This includes plastic shell crates and small windowless rooms. It also includes crates with coverings put over them, so think twice at that outdoor event before you decide that your Greyhound would be okay crated in the sun as long as you shade it by covering it. You want to avoid any situation where heat can build up, or the air circulation is poor. Air conditioning is a boon to Greyhound kind, and they love fans. You can always tell when your Greyhound's gotten warm in his sleep when you see him flip onto his back. He's letting the air flow across his belly, cooling the blood there, which circulates through his body, cooling him off. Humidity, a sneaky Greyhound enemy. Given my comments about hydration, you'd think that moist air would be good, right? I'm afraid not. You see, panting cools your Greyhound by moving rapidly over moist areas in his mouth and his nose. This evaporates the moisture, which cools off your dog. If the air is humid, it prevents this evaporation from happening. Again, a fan will make a huge difference. Even at cooler temperatures, if you see your Greyhound panting on a wet day, try putting a fan on him. If he relaxes, then you'll know that the air was just too damp, and that's what was making him uncomfortable. Hydration is important for Greyhound safety. Plenty of saliva requires plenty of water, and Greyhounds are notoriously poor drinkers. Since they think everything can be fixed with a nap, they may not get up and take a drink when they need one. I can't emphasize enough how many Greyhound problems you'll solve or prevent simply by adding 8 ounces of water twice a day to his food. It also helps greatly to refresh your dog's water right before he goes outside. It makes it so much more enticing when he comes back in. So much so, in fact, that your Greyhound may turn his nose up at stale water, even when he really should drink. Adding some ice cubes to his water will keep it cool and fresh, or set a shallow container of ice cubes or crushed ice before him when he's laying down. When doing this indoors, I set the container with the ice in it on a towel. It makes it easier to clean up afterwards. There's a wonderful YouTube vlog called Xander's Adventures about a Greyhound who lives in Florida. Xander's owned by Christine, who really knows her dogs and how to keep them healthy and happy in hot tropical weather. Xander pants a lot. She often takes him for short hikes in shady places, often stopping to let him soak or paddle around in cool water. Another thing she does, which I think is brilliant, is to mist him with a spray bottle. Xander clearly likes and expects this, especially when she sprays it in his mouth. When I was researching the companion article for this video, Christine generously shared the 2 videos which best highlight her techniques for cooling a greyhound. In the description below, you'll find a link where you can read that article and view Christine's 2 videos, all over the Greyhound Home Care website. Christine says, the Mister bottle makes a cameo on a lot of Xander's videos, but I think these 2 show more about how misting can help with cooling. And the links she provided are set to the timestamp where she uses the Mister bottle. Mister bottle. She also mentioned that using a spray bottle for cooling is a trick she learned from showing her Great Danes. She says, many show dog exhibitors have a spray bottle on hand to keep their show dogs cool before they go in the ring. Other reasons Greyhounds pant. Greyhounds pant from internal stresses too, not just from the weather and sickness. In these cases, simply putting a fan on him does not help. It's important for you to figure out what's upsetting your greyhound and address that. Let's take a look at those causes. Illness and pain. Since greyhounds really do pant a lot, it's rarely a symptom of injury or illness. It can be though, so always be sure you understand why your greyhound is panting. It may be the only clue he gives you that he's not feeling well. A greyhound who's panting and walking around fretfully is truly not feeling well. The most common of these is stomach upset. This is a good time to move him to an easily cleanable surface or stick a newspaper in front of him. If you see your greyhound panting and moving his mouth a lot, you might want to check inside his mouth and see if he's eaten something that he shouldn't. While you're doing that, send another family member to walk around the house and see if he can figure out what the dog might have gotten into. Fear. If you can recall a time when you felt suddenly flushed and overheated as an emotional response, you'll understand how your greyhound reacts to emotional stress. If he gets excited or nervous, you might see the panting start. Fireworks and thunder. Like many dogs, greyhounds can be terribly afraid of these particular noises, as well as gunshots. This is not to say, however, that greyhounds fear loud storms or noises, are disturbed by noisy environments, or are fearful dogs. If they are, that's a separate issue. For example, my neighbor was having some tree work done this week, and that was a lot of noise. Even the neighbors were upset by it, and Lily just slept calmly through the whole thing. I saw some guesswork on this subject over at the AKC's website. While I agree with them that the greyhound knows that thunder's coming before you do, I maintain that it's strictly the percussive sound of the thunder that scares them, not any other factors of the oncoming storm, such as increasing wind or darkening sky. Although someone mentioned to me that there might be a change in the atmospheric pressure that could upset dogs, and she might be onto something there. But anyway, I live in an area with violent storms and a lot of wind, but it's only the thunder that really bothers my greyhounds. They're not fond of going out in crazy weather, mind you, but it doesn't get them so upset that they pant. One look at a greyhound sleeping through anything and everything except these particular noises shows us that the fault lies not with a general fear of loud sounds. They're used to commotion. After all, life with dozens of other racers gets pretty noisy sometimes. Help for greyhounds' fear of loud noises. I also disagreed with the AKC's notion that a behaviorist may try to cure your greyhound's fear of thunder through desensitization. This is where they introduce a recording of the sound gradually at low volume and help the dog get used to it with praise and treats. The trouble with this is you'd really need a steady supply of the feared sound in real time, because a greyhound could certainly tell the difference between actual sounds and recordings of them. I mean, can't you? Of course we can. One greyhound owner swears by his own DIY desensitization method. Every time the loud noise occurs, he's quick to give his dog a treat. It's kind of a random way to go about it, but greyhounds have long memories, so that may be worth a try. People have had varying degrees of luck with pheromone diffusers and thunder shirts. I set up some affiliate links below so you can check out those products. The most common solution, and the one I use at home, is to move the dog to the part of the house farthest from the offending noise and try to block out the rest with closed windows, fans, and TV. A little hint, cellars are great because they tend to be acoustically dry, underground, and there's less vibration coming through the floor. I believe it's the vibration, in addition to the sound, that greyhounds fear the most. I found an interesting home remedy for thunder-panicked greyhounds. A woman who shows dogs swears by applying a drop of peppermint essential oil to one pad on each foot. I'm looking forward to exploring this with Lily at the very next opportunity. If it works, I'll let you know. The car. Our Peaches was terrified of riding in the car and would tremble and pant pathetically the entire trip. During her racing career, she'd been in a kennel truck accident. Our last two Greyhounds have also been scared in the car. We usually just leave them home, but that becomes impractical when we're trying to shoehorn the mulish, panting Greyhound into the car so we're not late for our vet appointment. Watch for my upcoming article on helping Greyhounds overcome fear of car travel. Haven't quite mastered that one yet, though. But my plan is to start taking Lily on short trips. This did help a little bit with Peaches. She was only going to get so comfortable in the car, given her history, but in her later years we could get her into the car with just a little bit of resistance. The panting from stress pretty much disappeared. Shannon was unhappy any time he was away from home, but we conditioned him to be calm in the car. He never loved it, but we were able to get him into the car fairly easily and keep the panting to a minimum. Vet visits. A visit to the vet's office is another thing that can set your Greyhound's panting to overdrive. Lily's the only dog I've had who isn't terrified at the vet's. If she pants there, it's with the heady excitement of the social butterfly that she is. The sight and sound of sick animals and fellow panickers combines with a Greyhound's hatred of hard, slippery surfaces. If your Greyhound's there because he's unwell, as opposed to just the annual checkup, it's even worse. Then he'll pant from fatigue and sickness as well. And because there's no comfortable place to lie down, he'll just stand up, thank you. He's not like other dogs who are going to muck around laying on that hard, yucky floor. The greatest help I've found for this is to have a thick layered pad, the one that we use for outings. Since it's the same one I put out on the deck when the dog wants to enjoy the sunshine, she's already comfortable with it. I've been doing this for 20 years, and I've never seen anybody else at the vet's waiting room with a pad. I rarely see another Greyhound there, though. Anyway, it's worth it, because once I lay out the pad, which is now expected, the hound settles in and the panting stops. Greyhounds also loathe standing on the examining table. I found that most vets are willing to compromise on this and settle for letting the dog stand or flop on the pad on the floor. Otherwise, the dog just trembles and pants, quaking the entire table and sliding around trying to grip that unyielding steel. Eliminating the table, when possible, cuts down on the panting, and it gives our vet a better chance to examine our dog. Don't be afraid to look a little different and to stick up for your Greyhound. Remember, you're at the vet's for a reason, and it's costing a lot of time and money to boot. All that panting is a symptom of Greyhound white coat hypertension. If his nerves throw off the vet's examination, he may not get the help he needs. Your nervousness. Yes, your nervousness can make your Greyhound nervous to the point where he's panting. Of course, you're probably nervous about him being nervous, but it's your job to break the vicious cycle. If you get nervous every time your Greyhound pants, you're going to find very little pleasure in pet ownership, especially in the warm weather. Reading through articles on GreyhoundHomeCare.com will help develop your sense of when something is off with your Greyhound. After all, I now have over 50 videos and more than 70 articles all about better living with your Greyhound. So please subscribe to this channel and check back regularly at the channel and at the website. I'll see you next time on the Greyhound Home Care channel.
Who's a good girl?